All right, let's move on to the next one. So, one of the things that happened last week, kind of silently, was that Anthropic may have just declared war on all of its power users. For a while, developers found a kind of clever way to use their unlimited or X Claude Max subscriptions to power third-party coding tools like OpenCode, essentially bypassing all of the expensive API fees. So everyone that pays API token costs, like us and our business, they're actually subsidizing a lot of these subscriptions that we have. Like we all have Claude Max accounts, and that's being subsidized by the APIs. Well, last week, party's over, and Anthropic just started aggressively blocking these apps, basically forcing users to use API keys or their SDK. Oh, one of the things was that if you use their SDK, you can use it. So they're kind of forcing you into their ecosystem. So if you have an idea for an app that enhances, Claude code, things like that, they're killing it. And this sparked a massive backlash across the community. Let's watch.
For Claude Code when people started using it heavily because their API prices are absurd. So you pay a flat monthly fee of $100 for the 5x plan or $200 for the 20x plan and get way more usage. The amount of usage you get is nuts. I wrote some scripts to keep track of how many tokens I was using and what it would cost over API usage. And it's easy to do thousands of dollars of API usage through these plans because Anthropic subsidizes them with their other sources of income, people using the plans and not paying and using the full value of it, etc. Since these plans have such generous limits, a lot of third-party builders have been implementing them in their own services. Things like OpenCode, things like ClaudeBot, which we'll talk about a bunch in a bit, all have been using your auth through Claude Code to take advantage of the token limits you're getting. So you're still paying Anthropic the money. You're just using the API key effectively in other apps. At least you were, until they locked it down.
Them kind of forcing us into their not open ecosystem and trying to use their leverage of a product like Claude Code and have any of you used any OpenCode or any other tools that use Claude Code as a wrapper?
I want to try OpenCode. I hear really good things about it.
I was gonna try with them too. But if you cannot use Opus 4.5, you cannot use my existing subscription. I don't think so anymore. I think
you can use it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know, no.
You can use.
I ran out of I have the 200x, so the $200 plan, and I hit the limit daily on a daily basis. So I don't want to know how much I would be paying if it was like an API. I have a whole video about that when it first started. Like, it started playing with Claude Code sub-agents. So basically, I would have like 5 or 6 different screens all running at the same time on a loop, right? So it was doing something like $800 a day of usage. That's crazy. So,
I'm very curious of how they're going to actually enforce this. I mean, it's just going to become a game of cat and mouse. Because, even with our new tool, Alpha Agent, it uses a similar thing, right? So basically you put in your API key. What's interesting is that they were actually spoofing the API requests, which might be different. So the way that Alpha Agent works is that it actually runs the CLI on your computer as if you're running the CLI. So it'll be curious to know like how they get around that. One of the things that was actually interesting as well too was that, of course, that same day, you then had OpenAI fight back and pretty much posted this.
Hot takes by Theo.
He has some opinions on Google.
Yeah, but
which, honestly, it's great for like one-off, like doing that. I haven't used it for real work either. But Gemini is an actual, their CLI is open sourced and under the Apache license. So you can build your own, fork it, things like that. So I don't see them, blocking this as well. But yeah, OpenAI shot back real quick that same day, saying that they've been working with tools like OpenCode to use that.
Yeah,
this is why competition is good.
Yep.
Yeah. They're behind. I could see, Anthropic play makes sense, of course. They have like the best CLI. They basically created this way of interacting with code, at least, in the terminal. I thought
The
you
decision
were
make
using
business sense.
What was that?
I think the decision makes business sense. People were using 20 month consumer products to get the API level usage worth hundreds of dollars, but the execution it was terrible. Not warning, no transition period, no communication.
Yeah, I would be agree if it would just be, catching people using their Claude code in production apps or, some heavy automations or something. If it's just like my personal use that I want to use, OpenCode or Cursor or whatever instead of the Claude code CLI, because I don't like that specific UI or want to build my own and I cannot use that's where I don't agree with them.
Yeah, I mean, because this affected Cursor as well, too, because people were going in and instead of paying for a Cursor account, they were going in saying, hey, use my Anthropic API key, putting that in there. And that was the Max version. And they cut that off, too. So they're essentially saying play in our playground or don't play at all, which I think is going to, you don't want to piss off developers.
Yeah.
That's why I like solutions like the Alpha Coder, where we're not really trying to replace any of the existing tools. We're trying to let you orchestrate the way that you use them and connect them.
Yeah.
That was my next
Yeah,
question.
because I think there's...
Go ahead, I can.
No, go ahead.
That was my next question. Like with this episode, this episode just confirmed how fragile your relationship is with your AI vendor. Like they can just at any point they can make this decision and put all the pressure on the business again. So if my question would be to all of you, like what lesson did we learn from this episode? AI businesses who are dependent on these kind of services, what should they do?
Well, I think that having a model and building it in an infrastructure where you can easily turn off and on these different services, put the competition back to them, because if you make the switching cost near zero, then it will force these companies to, do what's in the best interest of the customer. The whole reason that Anthropic is doing this is to kind of lock you into their ecosystem. They're trying to use what little, if you look at the market share of what, let's see if I can find this graph. It was really interesting. I mean, Anthropic is very, very small. It's very popular in the developer community, but in terms of like just general AI usage, they're just, I think Manus, that just got purchased by Meta, had more of people using that than Anthropic and Claude. So they're trying to use what little leverage they do have to lock you into the ecosystem, which I think, and let me just say this, that it's really rich for a lot of these companies to say that, oh, we're not going to allow you to use this, when literally their entire model was built off stealing other people's IP. Like, that's real rich for you to then turn around and like pull the ladder back up. So yeah, I think building your infrastructure around a multi-model, multi-company, if your infrastructure doesn't allow you to easily switch between OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, X, whatever the new models are, then you are setting yourselves up to be beholden to this type of they could just completely kill your business overnight.
Yeah, exactly. Vendor lock-in is a real risk here. The only way you can counter that is by designing for portability from day one.
Yep, absolutely right. All right, let's go into the next one. So with the release of Claude Code, one of the things that they really saw was that people started using Claude Code for everything. It wasn't just coding. So Anthropic last week officially launched Claude Cowork. It's a new agentic tool